The State of the Nation address by President Cyril Ramaphosa later this week, we explore the triple scourge of inequality, poverty and unemployment. And we just want to look at a few facts, if I could have some of the information come up on the board. So in terms of inequality and poverty, we heard from Oxfam that in terms of wealth generation, 82% of the wealthiest people in the world in 2017 managed to basically 1% of the richest people in the world managed to accrue 82% of the wealth generation that was created in 2017 alone. Since 2008, apparently billionaires have actually doubled in number, and then between 2017 and 2018, the super rich their wealth grew by 2.5 billion dollars per day, which is huge. And in terms of people at the bottom rung, that is the 50% globally in the world, between 2017 and 2018, the bottom half world population, their wealth declined by $500 million a day. And then if we can go to the next slide. And then in terms of taxes, what Oxfam found was that rich and big corporations pay even lower taxes now. And of course, we know that Mr. Trump was largely responsible for that, ensuring that in the United States they have much lower taxes. And it said that the middle class actually aren't benefiting from those taxes, rather the high net worth individuals who seem to be, and corporations as well. And then in terms of the 3.4 billion people who are much poorer, they earn about $5.50 a day. In South Africa specifically, 55% of the population lives on about 992 Rand per month, and that's at 2015 prices. This is according to Stats SA data. And in terms of our Gini coefficient, which basically signals the level of inequality, the closer the number is to 1, the more unequal society you are, then we rank as we rank as the worst country in the world, our Gini coefficient being 0.63. In terms of the policies that we have in South Africa to address inequality and poverty, we've had the Reconstruction and Development Programme, which was issued in 1993. There were lots of other policies that came through, and the last one that we have, the latest one, is the National Development Plan, which was hoping that by 2030 we would have an unemployment rate of 14%, and the National Planning Commission came out last year to say that's not going to happen, because obviously the assumptions that they made about economic growth have not come to fruition. We are barely growing. We hope to grow beyond 1% this year. The guiding principles the ANC says is that no political democracy can survive and flourish if the masses of our people, which is what they usually describe as the country, our people remain in poverty. On to the next slide, please. And then in terms of, we continue with the South African policies. So the NDP, the National Development Plan, it really aims to boost employment, increase incomes, increase productivity, and then on top of that, for your lesser advantaged members of the population, you have social protection for people who are not working and so on, people who have grown up in homes with no family and so on and so forth, and of course quality public services. All of these issues obviously have not come to fruition as yet. On to the next slide, please. Okay, and also the social wage. We have free primary health care, no fee paying schools, old age and child support grants, housing, free basic services, water, electricity and sanitation. We know that in terms of those free basic services, we've had protests for years and years about lack of proper good service delivery. And in terms of all these other areas, the no fee paying schools, there are question marks about the quality of education that our children actually get. And of course, healthcare, we know that there are dismal situations across the country in terms of our hospitals and clinics. And let's take a look at the next slide. So, of course, one of the ways to try and ameliorate the situation in South Africa is that you have people like Zwelinzima Vavi, who says many people working in South Africa are working poor. And one of the ways to ameliorate that was to introduce the national minimum wage. It's something that the labour unions have been calling for since the dawn of the new democracy. And what came into effect in terms of the National Minimum Wage Act is that people must earn 20 Rand per hour or before 3,500 rand per month. The agricultural sector and the domestic workers are excluded for now, but with time, gradually, they will move to that level. And then, of course, COSATU and FEDUSA have said that this is going to have a positive direct income on at least 6 million workers, because before this, many of them were earning way below that. Well, we're going to leave it there, and hopefully Arabile can come on and take on over from me.
Yeah, no, but I want you to just stay with me here, because that information, that data is quite significant, right? The likes of FEDUSA and COSATU coming through then, really detailing all those numbers, which themselves speak a lot about just how South Africa's situation looks, right? A dire situation with regards to unemployment. But let's take a look at just the scenario in other countries, and I'll give you Spain. Not so long ago, they were facing a really big crisis, almost exited the Eurozone and faced an unemployment crisis, which left them at, yes, you guessed it, 26.9% unemployment. That may sound familiar because South Africa themselves had that similar figure with regards to unemployment, and it's remained that way. It's been pretty systemic. So that figure in itself was very massive. But look at what they've done in 5 years. This was just in 2013. Now, the third quarter of 2018 saw them bring out a number of around 15.2%. A massive decline, more than 10% lost just on that front alone. In the same time span, if you take a look at the South African graph, you'll see that we've gone nowhere. Similar picture, and we've gone in the exact opposite direction, if not stayed relatively the same. Now sitting at 27.5%, possibly the highest unemployment rate of any country in the world right now. It is a systemic problem. And we're obviously speaking about percentages here, while of course if you talk about numbers, it does vary. Not so long ago, India, their President Narendra Modi is trying to hide the number with regards to unemployment there, and they've reached a 45-year high when it comes to unemployment, and that's 6.2%. We can only hope for a number like that for South Africa in that context. Of course, why is this the number that it is right now for South Africa? The implementation of policies we have put in place is certainly not helping. We've had everything from the NDP right through from a jobs pact, which we had a very long time ago. All of those have not worked. Just recently, just last year even, we had the Job Summit. And the aim of that Job Summit, as we'll unpack in the next image, is just to show you just exactly what the hope is for South Africa and where exactly we'll go. This is the real state of the nation. This is exactly where South Africa sits. Around 3.2 million young people joined the era of no work between the years 2008 and 2018. That means 320,000 people per year will be looking for work. Now, last year, during that job summit, South Africa said that they would be willing to create 275,000 jobs per year over 5 years. Now, take a look at that number. It doesn't even cover the amount of people that have entered or tried to enter the workforce over the last 10 years. So 275 is just going to equate to 1.375 million, and that's not going to help the scenario when it comes to South Africa's growth. We've had an NDP plan that said that by 2030, we need to get unemployment down to at least 15, if not 6% eventually. That NDP plan is simply not attainable. Perhaps not just scrapping it, but re-looking at how we work South Africa's employment scenario is going to be ultimately very, very key. This is the real number. These are the problems that face President Cyril Ramaphosa. And when that State of the Nation comes through later this week, it's going to be high time that we get answers to what exactly will be done and not just said with regards to South Africa's jobs crisis. That is the state of the nation. We'll be back right after this.
Hier sy hoender. Suiwer opregte magic.
Jou sleutel tot geluk.
Ag, julle ouens is mal man.
Daar is fit mooi meisies, vinnige mense.
Met 1 of 2 uitsonderinge. Het julle vergeet julle speel aanstaande Saterdag teen 'n topspan.
Gereg sal geskied, gevoelens forceer gemaak.
Kom ons praat.
Ek gaan nog ver kom met my linkerhak.
Is jy bang vir haar?
Bang. Ek vir 'n meisiekind. Daai meisiekind.
Die ouens sê Vlam is 'n buffel. Ek hou van hom.
Daar is 'n behoefte vir liefde.
Ek is jammer ek was so lelik met jou os. Kan ons vriende wees?
Sommige het dit gekry.
Jy stel in niks anders meer belang nie.
Daar's baie redes hoekom mense nie kan saamleef nie. Ek wonder hoekom probeer hulle nog.
Misverstand.
Met wie dink jy praat jy?
Wat sal skool wees sonder poetser?
Luister ouens, die ding is...
Ag, wonder my hart.
So kom ons praat gou.
DStv kanaal 156 SABC aankoop.